Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.
Yeah, Jeff. So I really have to applaud you and your marriage, your long-lasting marriage, and I hope you guys actually go right through to the end. So, would you say, like the way the way you are as a man? Would you put that on your past, with your growing up? Would you say your childhood has a lot to do with who you are this minute?
Oh, absolutely. Especially, I was fortunate and I had a very good childhood, middle class background. My parents were married over 50 years, and
Wow.
they, not everyone, my wife didn't have anything like, she had a rough childhood. And so her experiences in getting married and raising kids uh, was not what I was used to seeing. And
Mm.
she did a phenomenal job with our three kids, and she did most of it, and she gets she gets almost all the credit.
Okay. Uh, so, right now, Jeff, you're a writer, you're a top Uber driver, and most of all, the thing I know you for, and known you for, is that you're an entertainer. You you're a people's person. So, at what point did you start doing Uber driver? What year being a
Well,
driver?
it's actually my wife gets all the blame or credit, however you look at it. Right before we moved from New Jersey, she wanted to sign up as an Uber driver, and she took one ride in New Jersey and was going to the airport to get her daughter, and she made she turned the app on and got a ride going to the airport and made $30. And when I came down here, I was thinking, well, maybe that would be a good part-time thing, because to subsidize whatever I do full-time here. And I never imagined. I started in July 2018, so it's
Mm.
almost 7 years, and I have 15,000 rides in the 7 years doing this part-time. And I started as a weekend driver, Saturdays and Sundays, because I worked full-time as a uh, independent contractor courier. And I have been semi-retired for 3.5 years, and I just do this usually on the weekend between Friday and Sunday. Maybe around 100 days a year, and I drive a full day, 10 to 12 hours, and I have more fun than a driver should be allowed to have. And I have the proof.
Yeah, 'cause this is actually part two of my interview with Jeff. We have a part one already on the channel, so you guys can look it up. And so this is a follow up with Jeff, getting more personal with Jeff. So Jeff, what excites you about being an Uber driver? Because I see those pictures in your car and everything. It's so personal.
Well, you mentioned my car, and it's really remarkable. This is a picture of my car as it is right now, and there is money from 63 countries in my car given to me by my passengers, in addition to a number of other things from my passengers.
Mm.
I have over 100 passengers represented in my car.
Yeah.
So when you ask me, well, what is it that excites you about it? Well, it's been the people. And when I first started driving, I had no idea. And the first few times I drove, I started meeting people from all different backgrounds and people who were just like me or very different. And they started telling me stories about their life or things they'd gone through, or they would say something funny. And
Hmm.
like the guy, my favorite writer, who's a was a mayor in a small town outside Harrisburg, PA, he said to me, he goes, um, I am I'm not a beach person.
Hmm.
And he said, but I just spent 3 days here at the beach, and every time I go on the beach, I feel like a rotisserie chicken. Now, I thought it was hysterical because I'm not a beach person and I love rotisserie chicken. And I just never put the two together. I used to tell people that story as I was taking them to the beach. I said, listen, I don't want you to be sitting there on the beach thinking about rotisserie chicken. Don't do that. And you know what? What I learned was people were giving me things and I was giving them back to other people. And I learned that's the most important lesson I learned as an Uber driver. If you give to others, they give back to you. And
Yeah.
now for almost 7 years, I have been celebrating my passengers. And I drove for a year and a half or so with Lyft, but mostly it's been 14,000 rides have been with Uber. But you know, there are so many things people have given me, stories and inspirational stories, funny things. I mean,
Tell me, sorry to cut it, but I want you to tell me one good story and one bad story, one tragic story, one good
so
story.
one inspirational
Yeah,
story and one positive story.
yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you a positive story. And I was just, uh, it's also positive and inspiring, but I picked up a woman at Walmart a number of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
She was 90 days from celebrating her 50th birthday. And she made a list of 50 things that she wanted to do in those 90 days. One of them was she wanted to go on a 2-day or 1 day, 3-day, whatever fishing trip. And it just so happens her friend, a male friend, was going on a trip in Myrtle Beach, actually up in Little River, and the person he was going with couldn't go, invited her, and she was so excited to do something that was on her list. Well, when I picked her up at Walmart, it was a little different. She had a full cart of all kinds of fishing equipment because when she got in the plane, and she was from Pennsylvania, and she got on the plane before her friend, and the friend texted her and said, they're not letting me on the plane. My license expired 6 hours ago.
What?
So she arrived in Myrtle Beach. All she knew was where to go. All right. She had no equipment, nothing. And I picked her up at the Walmart to take her to her fishing. And I'll tell you what, I was so excited because I was about to turn 60. This was 4 years ago. And I had written down a list of 60 foods that I wanted to eat over about the same time period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
What are the odds of that happening? Well,
Wow.
we had such a great time. I calmed her down and she said, yep, I'm going to do this. I don't know anyone on a boat. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I said, look, you're going to be fine. And I encouraged her. And I told her this was going to be an unbelievable experience. And it all starts here. And when she got out, she was ready for that trip. And I know she did great on the trip. And it was a very positive story about someone who all of a sudden had a bump in the road, like I said before. Now, challenges or really difficult stories. I have had so many incredible people who have gone through really difficult experiences. But I'm gonna tell you a very difficult challenge that someone had, and how wonderful people are at the same time. Because that's how I celebrate strangers or celebrate people that I meet. I just heard this story on Friday. And the woman said to me, I've been a server for 18 years. And I was telling her some positive stories and all. She goes, a few years ago, I lost my 22-year-old son. When she came back to work, one of her regular customers noticed that something wasn't right with her and asked and found out what happened. He gave her a $200 tip. $200.
Wow.
Which is remarkable. It just shows how amazing that this individual, he worked at a bank, he knew her, he was a regular customer, but that's not the end of the story. That wasn't enough for him.
Okay, okay.
Hours later, he came back and handed her an envelope with $1,200 in the envelope and said, I want you to do something for yourself. And you know what? That's the best server story. I have another great one. It doesn't get much better than that, but I will tell you that she did say, and this woman was very enthusiastic, personable. I'd want her to serve me. I mean, you're talking about someone a lot of personality. She said to me, "What I did with the money was I bought a gravestone for my son."
Mm.
How could you not love someone who was willing to share the story with me, and at probably the most difficult thing that she's ever experienced, and a complete customer of hers. I can't wait to tell that story a lot. I write at the end of each month. I write about my favorite passengers and my favorite comments. And last month, I wrote about this guy who filmed me at a library. Oh wait, that was you. So, but and people were able to watch the video because it was on my blog, and that's the way I celebrate strangers that way, and I repeat these stories, and I will tell that server story many, many times over the next years because it's a tragic story, but from tragedy came triumph and
Yep.
true character of some amazing people. And for the most part, people are incredible. They really are. And that's why I had to write a book about complete strangers. I wanted other people to experience what I have. So the title of my book is right here, Driving on the Sunny Side with 10,000 Strangers. And up here it says, Celebrating the Lives of My Uber and Lyft Passengers. That is my car on the front. And on the back is the car that I had for the first 7,500 rides. Similar car. And underneath are 4 comments that I pulled out, special comments from people that I've driven that I wanted to give them recognition and show what the ride meant to them.
Mm.
So those are 2 stories, but I have stories every time I go out and drive. There's at least 1 or 2 good stories.
So Jeff, do you think people share this story because they find comfort in it, or people is because of the ride, or because of the solitude? People just feel some type of compassion. Why do you think people just share their feelings in a Uber ride? Most people.
Well, I would say that when you get in my car, when people step in my car, I welcome them to my museum. Right
Mm.
away, they laugh. Because before they even look at the car, they're laughing because who welcomes them to a museum when they get in the car?
Yeah.
So they start off on the right foot, and then they look around and they see a lot of smiling faces of passengers. They see all this money. And I'll give you a great example. This happened 2 weeks ago. A Sunday morning, the woman goes to get my car in Mount Pleasant, and she didn't get much sleep the night before. I don't know what happened. I didn't have to know any details,
Yeah.
but she needed some rest. And as soon as she got in, I said hello, and she's looking at her phone. And I figured I'm just going to let her relax, and I'm not going to try to talk to her. But after 5 minutes or so, she started looking around the car. And I'm telling you, her face changed. I could see it in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And so I started talking to her a little bit, and she smiled, she laughed. And by the end of the ride, she said, I have something for you. And when I stopped at her place, she pulled out, sorry about that. She pulled out this. This may be the most amazing story that I had. She pulled out this ring, which was her mom's ring, and she'd been holding on to this ring for 3 years. And she said, for whatever reason, she had bad karma, and she wanted to give it to me to change the karma and to give it to a Leo. And she tells me her mom was born August 15th and she was born August 17th. And I said to her, and I was born August 19th.
Oh,
So we knew that this was happening. And I tried to convince her to do something. So finally I took the ring. And this Sunday, I asked a couple passengers in my car, and I had a woman in Mount Pleasant who said, my daughter is visiting in 2 weeks. She's a Leo. Her birthday is August 14th.
mm.
And I said, do you think she would like this ring as a gift? And she said, I think she would. And when I texted the original woman who had the ring, she loved the idea because the daughter is in the military. She's serving our country in the Army. And I've had so many great people from the military in my car. I thought it would be a wonderful way to give to a woman who's serving our country that gift. So I'm going to pick up on my own time. I'm going to pick up that woman and her daughter, and I'm going to talk to her in the car and ask her if she could help me with the problem I'm having. And then I'm going to pull out the ring. And I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be one of the best moments I've had in 7 years, because I'm going to have a picture of her and her mom and the ring. And it's going to be right next to the other woman who's already in my car. And under her picture, it says good karma. And under their picture, it's going to say the gift.
Wow. Story sound like it was well put together.
And it's coming this Sunday. I can't wait for Sunday. Just for that, just for those 15 or 20 minutes when they're in the car. And I'm going to tell that story to a lot of women over the years, especially women in the military.
That's great. It seems I got a passion for this, Jeff. You got a really passion for people. What was this passion occur since you started in Uber? Or this was always a passion for you to see the difference in people, in spite of.
Well, I think it's more, I've always liked people, but I was busy working and raising a family, and I was actually pretty shy. My wife is the outspoken one, but all of a sudden I started driving these people. Some who were extremely successful, some people were kids in college, and uh, people who were hilariously funny. I mean, we're talking about some of the funniest people I have ever met. Well, there a number of them are in my book, but and unfortunately, they don't know that I actually wrote about them.
Mm.
And so I got to experience and talk to these people, and you know what? It has just been an incredible experience. And I know when I share this, even with Uber drivers, it's tough for them to relate to, but I want to talk to people. I look forward to who am I going to drive on Saturday?
Yeah.
Who am I going to drive? And am I going to? I know who I'm going to drive on Sunday. That woman and her daughter. I know that's going to be a really a special moment, and I'm going to make sure I get a picture, even if it's just for me. And if they allow me to put it on the blog and in my car, it'll be in my car. But I don't know who it could be someone in the military. It could be someone. I once had this conversation with a woman, and she was going for an interview at Publix for a manager position, department manager. So I said, all right, well, let's get you ready for the interview. And I went through all this. I had her laughing and telling her stories about being a manager and whatever. And it was a great ride. And we got there, and she went to get out of the car. And she said, Thank you so much for making my day. I'm going through a difficult divorce and you really helped. And she left and I sat there thinking, I had no idea. I didn't know. Fortunately, I didn't talk about being married 41 years, but I had no idea. You don't know what people are going through,
That's true.
but it's important to be able to show some kindness and spread your sunshine. Make someone's day with whatever you're doing, because it's the human thing to do, and people respond to that, and they can see that it's real. It's real. I mean, I want them to have a good time. From the very beginning, I wanted to give the best Uber ride I possibly could. Now, if you told me 7 years ago, I'd be driving around in a museum and I would have stories like this, I would have said, well, I hope you enjoyed smoking whatever you're smoking, because, the odds of that happening are slim and
Yeah.
none. But people are amazing, and they've gone through life. One older woman had a great line that I put in the book. She said, Uber drivers are lucky because they get to experience other people as they go through their life. We are lucky. And you know what? Everyone is lucky, because you go shopping and there's a cashier there. You go to a restaurant, there's a server. We had, on our 40th anniversary, we went to a bunch of places in Myrtle Beach, but we also went in the middle. We went to Friendlies because we had a lot of great dates and brought the kids to Friendlies.
Yeah.
We had a server there who may still be there. Her name was Precious. And when I wrote a blog about our day, the title of our blog to celebrate our 40th anniversary was, She Really Was Precious. She was so nice that I printed up the blog, and a few weeks later, I went back to the Friendlies and I gave her the blog I wrote with her name on the front. And you know what? That's how you celebrate people. That's being real. That's being human. And it is so much fun putting a smile on people's faces. I can't wait to see that daughter serving the military for 3 years. She's stationed in Texas. And I'm going to give her an option. I'm going to say, you don't have to take it, but I think she's going to like it. And I think she's going to appreciate it. And that's going to be a special moment for her mom, too. It really will. So celebrate people. Spread your sunshine however you can. And it comes back to you. Oh my God. It comes back. I mean, listen, do you know how much fun you could tell me telling this story, how much fun it is going to be on Sunday for those 10 or 15 minutes. And they're going to get in the car and the daughter will have no idea what's going on. And the mom and I will have this secret that we're going to surprise her. And it's really going to be special. It will.
Oh. I'm speechless, Jeff, because I've never really met anyone that celebrate people and expressing themselves like you towards people, because people are just trying their best to stay away from people these days, But you embrace, you see something in people, you see something that is like you're seeing what people are trying their best to hide, and you bring it out by decorating your car. So as soon as they approach your car, they were greeted by smiles, and that's amazing. That breaks the ice. It's like they lost 10 pounds just by coming in your car. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful, Jeff.
And you know what? And that the woman who wanted me to change the karma, she wanted her karma changed. And she knew, just being in the car, I've got this beautiful picture of her. No one would believe that it's the same woman who got in my car. I mean, she definitely looked like but she knew that her karma would change. I mean, look at what you're doing. You're interviewing people and you're helping inspire people. You're celebrating people in your own way.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
celebrating in my sunshine.
that's right. You
Yeah,
are.
because my sunshine is passion. I got passion for people. I'm interested in people's journey, and you have a beautiful journey. You're like a people's champion. You're
People's
not all to
champion.
make them smile. You bring them to where they want to go, and you bring them safely. But in the meanwhile, bringing them, you you help them to open up, and that's amazing. And I want to tell me, like, tell me, you ever bring anyone famous in your car? Anyone
Yeah,
famous people?
I had the first. I wrote about her in my book. The um, first black woman to be elected president of the American Medical Association. I drove her a month or two before the pandemic broke. A
Mm.
30-minute ride. She was. I wish I had it recorded. I would have played it. I brought that up to many people. She was absolutely terrific. They tried to convince her not to go to medical school because of the color of her skin.
Oh.
I had a former professional football player who lives here locally, Shane Conlon, who played for the Buffalo Bills and Jim Kelly's Bills years ago. He played against my Giants in the Super Bowl, and when
Mm.
I drove him, I had to tease him a little bit because my Giants beat his Bills. But I've had some professional soccer players. I've had. Very famous DJ, DJ Who Kid, who is on the radio, and
Mm.
he works with all the big rap stars. And he told me one of the best stories I've ever heard, that he owes his radio career to the attack on 9/11, because his studio was right near the World Trade Center, and he left 15 or 20 minutes before that, and he was able to get his break in radio over the next month by substituting for another
Wow.
DJ. As a remarkable story, and despite the fact he was completely exhausted, he was willing to share that story with me. And people feel comfortable. They can see that other people have felt comfortable, and they
Mm-hmm.
know that they're going to have a good time. And one of my favorite comments that I put up in my car was a woman who said, "I'm almost crying. I love being in your car." Now that makes me laugh every time I look at it, because people are really taken back I mean, they're going in Ubers and Lyfts, and there are a lot of great drivers out there. There really
Yeah.
are. But you know what? I have something very different. And
Mm-hmm.
not only do I have my car and what's in my car, by the way, the 63 countries that are represented in my car with money, on each of them, it says thank you in that country's language. Now, I could have put the name of the country, but I put thank you.
Yeah.
And that goes, I actually thought of putting love, but I put thank you, because I thought that was enough, and seeing how different it was. But people feel comfortable, and it's a special place. And it's not just me, because what represents me, um, I'm represented by all the 15,000 rides that I've given. And I'm going to have a special weekend in April.
Mm-hmm.
In April, I'm going to celebrate Rider Appreciation Weekend.
Wow.
And I'm going to do one day in Myrtle Beach and Sunday in Charleston. And my wife and I are going to be moving to Colorado to be with our first grandchild and two of our kids. And I'm going to go out. Oh, I've got so many special things planned for that weekend. Anyone who's in my car, they will never forget that weekend. I think it's going to be the weekend after Easter, and Saturday and Sunday. Saturday here in Myrtle Beach and Sunday in Charleston. I'll tell you what. I'm going all out. I'm going to have 150 riders with me in my car, represented with all kinds of things under the
Wow.
sun. So something I'm really looking forward to.
I definitely gotta be there to cover it, you know. So okay, now we're going to your book, Jeff. What inspired you to write the how many books have you written?
Well, I've always loved to read, and when I was a kid, I thought, God, wouldn't it be cool one day to write my own book? I remember thinking that, and then when I was in high school and I became a Beatle fan, and I heard the song "Paperback Writer."
Hmm.
Dear sir, madam, will you read my book? It took me years to write. Will you take a look? Those are the open lines. I thought, man, that really would be cool, writing a book. There are a couple, I made a couple attempts to write. I actually wrote a book, but I didn't publish anything. One was right after 9/11. I thought about the people who, the mothers and fathers who didn't come home, that night. And
Hmm.
I wanted my kids to know who I was. So I wrote my autobiography in 2002. I guess I finished it. And I wrote about my whole life, and um, uh, I just printed it up and gave each of my kids and some of my family a copy. My parents, I gave them a copy of it. I put it in a binder or whatever. But this was a real book. And I never thought that I would write about strangers. And I think I mentioned to you earlier how this all came about because driving on the sunny side, my business name is the Sunshine Man.
Hmm.
So I really am, not only am I driving on the sunny side being optimistic, but I drive mostly during the day.
It's
So it is,
it's a
the
sunny.
sun is up, and in my car, it is very sunny. Right now I'm driving. It looks red on an orange cover, but it's really an orangish red car. But what happened was I picked up a passenger one day, and I figured out the whole title because I asked her what she did. She said she worked for a nonprofit cancer association. And I said to her, this is during the pandemic. She was wearing a mask. She's in the back seat. And I said, so how long have you been doing it? And she said,
Hmm.
like 17 years. And I said to her, now I could tell she had a young voice. So I always like to joke with women, especially. I go, what did you start in junior high? And then she said, actually, when I was 9, I lost my mom to breast cancer. And of
Mm.
course, the ride changed
Yeah.
completely then. And I found out that her foundation, which is named after her mom, she worked part time for. She's been there for all that time. She's now full time. And what they do is they give people with cancer something to smile about, something to laugh about. They give them a weekend away. And she told me that when I dropped her off, and she was really nice, she gave me her card. And she said, look, if you ever have someone who's suffering with cancer, contact me and I'll see what I could do. And on her card was her website. And when I looked it up,
Hmm.
she wrote these beautiful art. I didn't know she was a writer. I was kicking myself. I didn't know she was a
Yeah.
writer. And then I saw the blog about her mom, and it was entitled Celebrating Strangers.
Mm.
I read it twice, and I was so moved by it because I knew that's what I do. Now, I don't deal with cancer. I'm not doing the great work she's doing. I
Yeah.
celebrate strangers. So I made sure that celebrating the lives, it came from her.
Mm.
And I'll tell you what, I printed out that blog post about her mom, how she treated people that she didn't even know. And I hung it up over my desk, and you can't see it now because I had to clear out and start packing stuff. But when I gave presentations after publishing my book, I told people I'm going to talk about celebrating strangers, and I finished my story with her story, and I read some comments about her mom, and
Mm.
so I had to write this book because I wanted to honor, to celebrate all the people that I had met who had given me so much. And I wanted other people to experience this incredible journey, and people that you just, you just, your heart goes out to them for the challenges they've overcome, for the things they've done in their life. So that's why I had to write the book.
Oh. So this is your first book?
This is my first book. I haven't made any decision on another one, but I'm at 15,000 rides. Excuse me. It is possible that I write one celebrating the lives of 20,000 riders. I might wait till 25,000. I don't know. I haven't made that decision, but I've had, look, just this month. I mean, that story I told you about the ring, that's going to be one of the best rides. That's a top 10 ride, no matter who I pick up, because it's something. Who would ever have thought that someone would give you a ring to change the karma on the ring? But it was really her karma that changed when she got in my car. Her karma changed right away.
That's beautiful.
And she'll have that, and I'm going to send her that picture too. So she's going to have that, and any challenges she has, whatever they may be in the future, she'll be able to look back at that ring with someone else and know that she did a really terrific thing, and the two of us, work together to do something really special for someone who's serving her country. So anyway, people are amazing, and you get to experience it because you're talking to people from all different backgrounds, and they're sharing things with you, and your audience gets to hear some of the things. And it may not sound real. Some of the things just don't sound real. I know the feeling in talking
Yeah.
to people. I can't believe you're going through this, but they are special. They really are.
What's your end goal, Jeff? Is there do you see yourself? Is there a process? Is there a finish line? What do you plan to accomplish with your love for people?
Well, being an Uber driver gives me the opportunity to really meet so many different people, that what I want to do is spread my sunshine and my kindness and encourage others to do the same thing. How I do that in the future, I thought about a couple different things, like
Mm-hmm.
doing videos, or several people have said to me, "Why aren't you on Instagram?"
Oh.
Well, I'm not really tech savvy, but I have 4 kids out there in Colorado who are tech savvy, and I may do something like that. I'd love to. I'd love to. My favorite day of the week is Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
and well, Monday is the day that begins a new week. You can
Uh,
forget about everything that happened the week before and start anew. And plus, I know that Monday is probably the worst day of the week for a lot of people.
that's true.
So I look forward to it. And I used to tell this to my daughter, and you'll like this, but I told it to my daughter when she was going to high school, and I would call it Magnificent Mondays
Mm-hmm.
and Terrific Tuesdays and Wonderful Wednesdays. But the Magnificent Mondays meant a lot to her. So on her college essay to get into college, she wrote about Magnificent Mondays. And when I put up that Celebrating Strangers essay, it was right next to Magnificent Mondays. And she talked about me and how she also celebrates Mondays just like I do.
So let me get this straight, Jeff. You're saying your favorite day is Monday
Absolutely.
because you realize that's like one of the down days for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it motivates you
Yes.
to go
Yeah.
there Monday just because you can motivate someone.
Yeah. Yeah. Because now the funny thing is, of course, I'm right now, because I used to go to work, and when I worked 5 days a week, people on Monday would say, "How was your weekend?" And they would say, "Too short." That's the first answer. And I used to think to myself, I remember I used to think this, well, the weekend is Friday night to Sunday.
Yeah.
The week is Monday through Friday. Why is it too short? Why can't you enjoy the whole week? Now, I drive on the weekend. My favorite, I enjoy driving more than anything. So I'm driving between Friday and Sunday. Monday, though, I get to sit down and catch up on everything I didn't do over the weekend. And I sit on my computer and I write down the comments and stories that I heard on the weekend. So I get to relive that for the first time and get ready for, I know, which is going to be a great month, and putting together 2 blogs. And of course, one of the big stories is about the ring that I told about. But um, I still enjoy, I'm not around too many people usually on Monday. But for me, when my daughter, when we trade emails on Monday, I always put "Have a magnificent Monday," and she does too.
How would you how would you express yourself, who you are, to me, Jeff? What type of person do you think you are?
What kind of person do I think I am? Well,
Yeah.
being 64 years old, I have a pretty good idea who I am. I'm certainly an optimist. I'm someone who has a lot of fun, but it may not sound as fun
To others.
to other people. But I think it's important to be your own person. I know who I am, and I know what I like to do. I love to write. I love reading. Obviously, I love Ubering. I love sharing things like this with other people, and maybe get them. When I wrote the book, I hired a professional editor to edit, and she was terrific. And one of the comments she made at the end was, she said, "You know, the next time I get in an Uber, I'm going to think about being in an Uber a lot different after reading your book." This is the editor. So she was not reading for content, but she understood what was in the book, that I
She
was
got it.
celebrating all these people and their experiences. And so I look at myself, I want to see, well, how I'm going to spend a lot of time with my grandchild. Her name is Riley, and she's always smiling, and we call her Smiley Riley. And we may not do that when she fully understands and gets mad, but she's amazing, and she definitely has our genes, and she's a very happy child, and it's going to be great. So I'm going to spend more time with my kids and my grandchild and my wife, and I'm keeping an open mind on what opportunities are out there. I want to give some presentations out in
We're still gonna do
Colorado.
your Uber in Colorado.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Are you kidding
Of
me?
course.
How could I not? It's really, I never would have imagined that it would have been as good as it has been. And yeah, the money was terrific as a supplementing a full-time income. And yeah, I enjoy getting tips from people. It's fun, but the rides itself, the
What's the
people,
downside, Jeff? Because there's a downside to everything.
the downsides of what, Ubering?
Yeah.
Well, you put a lot of miles on your car, but I've been in driving jobs most of my life, so for me, that's not a big deal. There is a little bit of danger involved. You have to be careful where you're going and when you're going. I don't really drive at night, other than just before it gets daylight and the sun comes up. But
I'm glad to say
there
that,
is some of
Jeff.
that. Yeah.
I'm glad to say that. Has there ever been a point when you feel like your life was in some type of jeopardy?
I had I remember one ride I was waiting for someone, and it wasn't the best neighborhood, and the guy who ordered the ride was he was begging me to stay there and wait for her and for her to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little nerve wracking. And I probably had one passenger in my car who was having some personal issues and definitely didn't want to talk. But out of 15,000 rides, I don't. People say, "What is your worst ride?"
Yeah,
You know, it's
there's a
really
lot.
it's really tough to come up with a worst ride. I've had some very, I've had people who've gone through incredible tragedies that I can think of, really sad
Oh, see, a worst
experiences.
ride would be like people sharing their bad experience with you. That
It's tough to come up with the worst. Yeah, I mean, I think I can think of one, and it was a father who came into town, and he his son had like a brain aneurysm, and he was in the hospital, and the son had, in the last year and a half, had lost his wife tragically, and his son had been killed in an auto accident. And this guy, he was in his early 70s, and he was, he was under just so much pressure and stress, and I really felt terrible for it. That was probably the
mm,
saddest ride I had, because all I could do was say to him, I'm so sorry that you've gone through this, and I will think of you tonight and pray for you, and hope you have your strength. And sometimes I used it this month already, twice. The famous pastor Robert Schuller had a great phrase. He said, um, "Tough people." Hmm, uh, t- tough things Tough things never last, but tough people do.
mm.
I may have messed that up because I'm thinking about it quickly, but um, that's basically what it. He wrote a book about it. But tough times. I'm sorry, tough times never last, but tough people do. I got it.
True.
There's so many different stories and things in my head but I've told that to someone, two different people this month, because I
Mm.
thought they needed to hear it. And
Yeah,
sometimes I think maybe we get really difficult challenges because
tough people.
you know it, that we can handle it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's what I think as well. And I want to say, before we come to uh, close, Jeff, I have some questions I want to ask you.
Okay.
So, the first question is, if tomorrow comes and you were in the position where Donald Trump is in, what would you change to to make life even 50% better worldwide, nationwide for people?
You're saying if Donald Trump?
Now, if tomorrow should comes and you somehow was in the position that Donald Trump was
Oh,
in,
someone who was. If I was,
yeah, what would you do to change even 50% of the nation of people to make life better?
well, that's a really good question. No one's asked me that in my car. Well, you have to have um, really good people who want to do good things for other people. And I think, if you look back in the 80s, Ronald Reagan was like a grandfather, and he was very optimistic and positive about the country, and people could see that. And I think, to affect so many people, I mean, I can affect on my app. on the Uber app, it says, "I can't change your life, but I can change your day."
Mm,
So I
that's
got that
beautiful.
from a sign on a hospital door. I didn't make that up, but and the
It's been
other
a
sign,
stole that.
and the sign I have in my car is, "If you can't find the sunshine, be the sunshine." So I think first it comes from you affecting people around you, and think about all the people that you're affecting who are watching this or suggesting to someone to watch this, and what do they do with that? Do they say, "Hey," do they say to a friend, "Oh, you should watch this. Watch what this guy is doing." And you know, government, works slowly, and they work that can improve people's lives, and that's what I focus on as an Uber driver. I get them to their destination safely. I put a smile on their face, give them
Mhm.
a memory. One person said, "What you're doing is you're creating memories."
Yep.
Okay, all right, I'm creating memories, but they're good memories. And maybe they feel a little bit better about themselves. Their karma has changed. Their attitude may have changed a little bit. And maybe they get out of the car whistling a different tune.
That's good. All right. Next question.
Go ahead.
What would you prefer, love or respect?
Love or respect? Well,
Only can choose one.
I can only choose one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, love. Love of my wife, my kids, my family. Um, and they're they're as strange as it might say. I have passengers who would actually will say, "I love what you're doing. I love this car." Um, and I did have one woman said, "I love you."
Mm-hmm.
Love is fine. Love is good.
Love is beautiful.
All you need is love, as the Beatles said a long time ago.
Okay. All I need is love. All right. So Jeff, this will be my last question before we signed out. I want you I want you to encourage someone today. Because as you know, as a nation, people are going through a lot. Everybody's feeling it. Everybody has their own problem, their own struggle. And a lot of people don't know where to go, when to go, how to go. And sometimes, in my opinion, I always say that sometimes people just want to hear you can do it. You will make it. Your experience, I want you to encourage, to tell someone that they can do it. The last few minutes we have on the show.
Well, I think you have to realize that, and people I've met, 15,000 rides. There are incredible things that you can do. I've had one of my favorite riders in his 50s decided to change his career driving a forklift in a factory. He's now a chef.
Mm.
I mean, that is inspiring to me. I had a 20-year-old woman who told me she was a part-time traveler and she wanted to, every month, she takes 3 to 5 days off as a server at Waffle House, and she goes to a place she's never been because she
Wow.
wants to travel. And so there are things that you can do, but you have to understand who you are. You have to believe in your abilities because we all have different abilities. All right. And
Mm-hmm.
and you have to realize that you can do what you want, but you should work on whatever goals you have. Write down 3 or 5 things that you want to do this year. It's only March. There's plenty of time. What are you going to do this year? What are you going to do this month? What are you going to do today? Every single day, you should work on your goals, even if it's just a little bit. You want to go back to school. What are you going to study? Where are you going to go? How much money do you need? Look it up. Start, and you have to just believe that that's going to happen. I drove one of my favorite riders in the top 10. is an executive for one of the top hotels right here in Myrtle Beach area.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, and it's the greatest, it's the number one success principle. And I knew it. I read about it before. And he goes, "You are what you think about. You are what you think about."
Yeah.
You have to think about what you want to become. You want to, if you want to go on a great vacation, you want to go on, okay, do you have any pictures? Where are you going? What do they look like? How much does it cost? When do you want to go? And you have to think about it. Not every once in a while, but you have to think about it when you wake up in the morning. Let's say it's a vacation. Let's say it's Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, you wake up in the morning and say out loud, today would be a great day to go to Hawaii. Do that every day. Every single day that you wake up, start your day by saying out loud, today would be a great day to go to Hawaii. And you know what? You're going to think about it more. You're going to have pictures of it. You're going to talk to people who went to Hawaii. I've got some stories in my book from people who went to Hawaii. There's funny stories. But you know what? Every single day you wake up and there's going to be one day in the future. How great is this going to be? One day in the future,
One
the
day.
night before, you're going to get in bed and you're going to think about it. You're going to know that when you wake up the next day, you're going to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't have to be a big vacation. It can be a number of things. All right. If you're looking for the one person, you know, your perfect mate, you know, the perfect guy, Mr. Right or Mrs. Right, whatever. If you're looking for that person, where are you looking? What are you doing? Are you thinking about it a lot? What are you planning? You have to be active to do these things. And I've read a lot of positive books over the years, and it just fits in so well with the people that are in my car. They tell me how they got successful in their career. One guy, a sales manager, told me Sunday. He goes, "I owe my career to soccer." He's a sales manager,
Mm.
but he started playing for a company team, and they
Okay.
hired him.
Mm.
So what I would say is you have to believe in yourself because you have ability that you may not appreciate. Other people may look at you and go, "Oh, you're really good at this. You're really good." And you might go, "Well, I don't think." Yeah, but other people think you are.
Yeah.
You have to believe in yourself, but you have to know, what is it you want? What do you want to do? And you got to think about it. I'll tell you what, you do that thing. Don't try it. Just do it. Tomorrow morning, as you wake up, you know, those first few seconds, you're like, "Oh, I don't want to wake up," but you're awake. Say out loud what you want to do every day and see what
Beautiful.
happens. Think about it. You are what you think about.
Beautiful.
It's a real thing.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful way to end our show today. Guys, I want to thank you so much. I want to thank Jeff, the Sunshine Man,
My pleasure.
top driver in Myrtle Beach. We appreciate it,
Don't
Jeff.
tell anyone.
Hey guys, don't forget, like, share, subscribe, and comment. Love you. One love.